Moving on next to the Delete Solid Entity tool, we get several choices in the Tool Settings window. We can select All, and I'll show you how that works in a second, or Face, or Edge, or Vertex, or Simplify. I'll explain what Simplify does. Technically, the Simplify option will remove edges on surfaces or solids that can be removed without affecting the topology of the surface or solid, resulting in the simplest possible geometry, which makes not much sense at all really when you think about it, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. We'll work with the other options. I'm going to pick the first one first, and it's a fairly simple process. We simply select the solid. In this case, we're selecting an edge with this option, and if we data point, then we get a very odd looking shape because we've removed that edge from this object. Let's undo that. Let's try it on a different place. Let's try it here, for example, data point. And that makes a little more sense. We've removed this edge, resulting in that simple flat face. Let's try the next one, which is face. Let's try and remove this face. So we select the object and we select the face. Data point again, and we remove the face. The object goes back to its slab origin. Undo that. You can add multiple faces by control clicking, but sometimes it doesn't work. For example, if I select this again and select that face and go across and hold down the control key and select that one and data point, nothing happens, and the status line says unable to delete fence. We can't do that with that one. Let's try something else. Let's work with this figure now. Same thing. Let's use face again. And I'm going to select this face, data point on it, data point again, and the face disappears. We can do the same with the back edge here, but I don't want that one. Let me go back, and I'm going to reset at this point so that I select the back face and data point, and that disappears too. Undo those two actions. So experiment with this tool. And again, just remember that some things it won't do. For example, if I want to remove this interior face, it won't let me. As you can see, I've highlighted the face, data point, says unable to delete the face. So don't be surprised if that happens. So try a few shapes of your own and see what will work and what won't work. Now, moving on a little bit, let's move to the next tool, which is Taper Face. And I'm going to go back to Shaded at this point, and I'm going to look at this one. Now, Taper Face, as the name suggests, will taper a particular face, and if I select the tool, we have a draft angle. This is the angle of the taper. The Add Smooth Edges, I'll show you in a second. But let's try this on this object. I've set the angle of taper at 10 degrees. So what I do is select the object and select a face, data point again. But now the next data point is important because it determines the direction of the taper. If, for example, I data point to this location on the top edge and drag downwards, you see the arrow that I'm dragging down. That's the direction of the taper. If I data point now to accept, then the taper is in that direction. Let me undo that. Let's try this again. Same object, same face. This time I'm going to select the bottom of the face here and drag upwards, data point, and the taper is in the opposite direction. So little care is required as to where you select that final data point and the direction of the arrow. Now you can also sort of reverse the process. Let's try this again. Select the face. Now previously I'd data pointed here and dragged my arrow upwards. But what if I go to the top face and data point and drag the arrow upwards from that location? Well, we get exactly the same effect as data pointing at the bottom edge and dragging upwards, because the angle is being applied in the same way because of the directional arrow. Let's move on and look at something like this. And here we see an object with curved vertical faces. So let's select this object and I'm going to select that face. We'll start at the bottom here and drag upwards, and we get that angle. That's not a big surprise. Try this again. Select the solid and the face. Click on here and drag downwards this time. And we get the opposite angle. Again, not too surprising. Let's undo. Let's turn on smooth faces now. So now it's going to taper all tangential surfaces. So let's try this again. Same object. Notice now that the whole object is highlighted. And in fact, the vertical sides are all highlighted. So select the face again. Let's do it from the bottom. There, drag upwards. Data point. All the tangential sides have now been tapered. So that's what Add Smooth Faces does. Let's try another one. Let's zoom off to this one and see if we can taper this face on its own. I'll add smooth faces, but it won't have any effect because there are no smooth tangential faces which attach to this face which is highlighted. So having smooth faces on makes no difference. So we'll select the edge. This time I'll click here and drag downwards. And we see the taper is inwards at this point. So again, you can taper most surfaces, but you have to be careful about the location of the final data point and the direction that you drag the taper arrow. So as always, please practice this. Use some of the objects that you already have. See what the effects are.